Reflection Tuesday for October 27th, 2020. In today's Gospel from St. Luke, the crowds listening to Jesus expected the kingdom of God to come with trumpet blasts and thunder. And I can understand that kind of thinking. Our attention is often drawn to the biggest and the brightest and the loudest. But Jesus shatters that idea with two examples, a tiny mustard seed and a little bit of yeast, things that are small and humble, that work quietly, almost invisibly. That's how the kingdom of God grows in the world, and that very much includes your own lives, both on the giving and receiving end of things. The kingdom is growing in you right now, right this second, and it very well could be the accumulation of a lot of very small acts of kindness you've received from others. They are very much the kingdom of God growing in your heart. That's the receiving part. But there is also the giving part, the small acts of kindness and service you yourselves have offered to others. That's where the yeast comes in. Jesus said the kingdom of God is like a small bit of yeast. But if you ever saw raw yeast just sitting around on the counter all by itself, it doesn't particularly look good or smell good. As long as it just sits there, it's just yeast. It only changes the dough by becoming part of the dough. That's a small but powerful piece of work. And while the yeast may be small and humble, it's a deliberate agent of change. I know people like this, shy, humble, no trumpet blast, no lightning, no drum beating, but deliberate. So what does this have to do with us? Today, in this gospel scenario, you are the yeast. You have a direct responsibility for the expansion of the kingdom. You are agents of change on God's behalf. You can't say yes to God and then not be an active participant. And as a distinctly Christian participant, you should not only ask, what would Jesus do, but also, how would Jesus do it? Our work in the kingdom of God is to promote truth and goodness and love. But the reality is we act in ways that reflect our true heart. And your heart will either reflect the kingdom and the heart of God, or it won't. Here's an earthly example of how a mustard seed grows into a huge tree, or how one measure of yeast expands the whole batch of dough until it overflows. Did you know that one of the most well-known nonprofit organizations in America was started in Phoenix, Arizona? The Make-A-Wish Foundation was founded in the spring of 1980 when a 7-year-old named Christopher Grecius was being treated for leukemia. Even at 7 years old, he dreamed of becoming a police officer. So when U.S. Customs Officer Tommy Austin became friends with Christopher, he worked with the Department of Public Safety to grant Christopher's wish. Now, Christopher passed away at the age of 7 years and about 9 months as an honorary police officer. This was the yeast. This was the wish that started everything. Since 1980, with this small but deliberate bit of yeast, the charity has grown to 62 chapters located in the United States and 47 chapters in other countries. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, having started small and deliberate, has become part of our culture, part of the kingdom. Here's a later example that you might even remember from Make-A-Wish. Fast forward to 2013, when 5-year-old Miles Scott, suffering from cancer, was given the keys to San Francisco and spent the day as Batman, or as he became to be known, Bat Kid. At least through 2018, Bat Kid has been in remission. The Make-A-Wish Foundation has granted nearly 480,000 wishes worldwide. Today, a wish is granted about every 34 minutes with the help of 45,000 volunteers worldwide. A little bit of yeast, and look what happens. So maybe we can reflect a little bit today. How have you been the yeast? What are your own deliberate, simple acts of kindness and service that have helped God's kingdom to grow? What else can you deliberately do? Peace be with you. Stay safe and healthy. See you next week.